It's time for another quick take, ladies and gentlemen. The time has finally come. We knew it would eventually. Carmelo Anthony has been traded away from the New York Knicks. He's headed to Oklahoma City. The Knicks, in return, get Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott, and a second-round pick. So I'm going to break down this trade. Yes, this is the 2003 national team Carmelo Anthony jersey, number 15 on the back. I am dressed for the occasion. Lots of emotions right now going through the heads of all Knicks fans, and different emotions because Carmelo Anthony was such a polarizing topic throughout his tenure at New York. So let's talk about this trade. I think the easiest way to do this, I thought about how I would approach this, and it is to talk about the losers and the winners. So I'm going to start with the losers, and I think that the number one loser here is the New York Knicks. Now, there will be a choir of people who will be celebrating this trade, even though the return isn't great, and I don't think anyone would argue that the Knicks got a great return. That's not why I'm saying the Knicks lost here, though. You need to understand why this trade happened. And let me just finish my point. So there will be a choir of people who will say, now that the Knicks, all they needed to do was trade Carmelo Anthony, and now the rebuild can begin. Now, in a sense, they're right, because you cannot rebuild in the Eastern Conference with Carmelo Anthony on your team. You can't do it. It's not a thing. He's too good. You just can't rebuild with Carmelo on your team. It doesn't make any sense. So in that sense, yes, you need to trade Carmelo. However, based on their return, their rebuild has not progressed, from the fruits of this trade. This has not begun their rebuild. There is no plan in place. There is no direction for the New York Knicks. And this trade has not made, any light of where the Knicks are going. So until you have draft picks, until you have a lot of really good young players who are on the up and up, until you feel confident that you can win free agents, until you're at that point, not every bad team is in great shape for a successful rebuild. And right now, the Knicks are not in position for any sort of optimism based on the potential of a rebuild. And this trade doesn't help that. So let's just start with there. But the most important thing is to understand why this trade happened. This was a relationships problem. This is Carmelo Anthony's relationship with the Knicks front office souring. This is a trade that had to be done based on the awkwardness that existed between Carmelo Anthony and the Knicks front office. They had no leverage here. The Knicks had zero negotiation leverage. They knew they had to get rid of Carmelo Anthony. It was too awkward. It was too toxic. And when you're negotiating a trade with another team and they know you have to get rid of this guy, they're in a great position to pull off a trade heist. And you could argue OKC did. So to me, the Knicks are a clear loser here. They get rid of Melo. They don't get a great return, as expected. I would have liked a first-round pick. They couldn't get it. They got a second. But ultimately, this isn't like, oh, great, the rebuild has begun. The rebuild is at zero right now. Nothing. The Knicks have Kristaps Porzingis. They have Willie Hernan-Gomez. Hopefully, Frank Ntilikina will be an asset. What else is there? They have Tim Hardaway. He's young. I mean, there's nothing there right now. There's nothing to be optimistic about. Loser, New York Knicks. All right, the other loser, Melo haters. I have been going back and forth with Melo haters for many a years now. It is illogical. It is absurd. It has been frustrating just to read, just to listen to for all these years and years. I've said this before. We have a terrible habit in American sports to blame the best player. When things go wrong, We love to blame the best player. And now sometimes it's the best player's fault because the best player does harbor the most responsibility. They harbor, the most control over the team's results out of all the players. This is true. They have the ball at the end of the game. This is true. But 80% of the time, your best player plays like your best player. And Carmelo Anthony has played like the Knicks' best player for the better part of his tenure with the Knicks. Carmelo Anthony is who Carmelo Anthony is, and he always has been that guy. And no, that guy is not LeBron James. And no, that guy is not someone who can pass as well as Chris Paul. And no, that guy is not someone who can defend as well as Jimmy Butler or Paul George. He is not that guy. And why some Knicks fans started to, for some reason, expect him to be that guy, I don't know. But Carmelo Anthony can score with the best of them. There was a point in his career when he was on the Knicks, in the beginning, in the first 3 years especially, where this dude was as unguardable as anyone in the league. Right there with Kevin Durant, who he won a scoring title over. Right up there with LeBron James. Right up there with Russell Westbrook. Carmelo Anthony can score. That's what he does. And if you can't build around a scorer, if you don't have enough assets where you can play winning basketball with a piece like Carmelo Anthony, whose main asset is to score, and besides that, isn't exceptional in any other area, that is not Carmelo's problem. That is not the scorer's problem. That is management's problem. That is the supporting cast's problem. That is the coach's problem. Carmelo Anthony has never benefited from a decent point guard play. He's never had decent point guard play. He's had Raymond Felton, okay? He's had Derrick Rose. He's had Jose Calderon. Carmelo Anthony has never had point guard play. He's never had a coach with a creative offensive mind. He's had Mike Woodson. He's had Derek Fisher. He's had Kurt Rambis. And we wonder why every time down the floor it seems to be ISO Melo. Like it's not the head coach's job to put in an offensive system where players thrive. An offensive system that creates opportunities for the players on the floor offensively. There's never been any schematic help in that regard. When Melo goes to Houston, when Melo goes to OKC, I believe we will see Olympic Melo. I've said it over and over again. Carmelo Anthony can be a good team player. Carmelo Anthony can pass. Watch him on Team USA. Listen to what Coach K has to say about Carmelo Anthony. Listen to what all the players who play with Carmelo Anthony on Team USA have to say about Carmelo Anthony as a team player. That's what we're going to see in Oklahoma City. Because Carmelo Anthony is a special, special player. And if you don't surround him with what he needs to win, not to say even Carmelo Anthony should even, Carmelo Anthony's not LeBron James. And he's not Kevin Durant. So he can't win a championship? It's always been so stupid, so illogical, so idiotic. Okay, let's talk about the winner, Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, OKC at this point, I gotta say, they have the second best big three in the league. And if you just look at who's done well in the NBA, who's had success in the NBA, with the exception of the Spurs, where there's been a lot of gray area, they haven't really had that big three or, the two superstar tandem, right? The Spurs have never really had that. Or not never, but recently they haven't really had that. And they've had a lot of success. But other than that, teams with big threes or teams with Kyrie and LeBron, the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Not anymore, of course. Teams with these high-level superstars, these are the teams that are doing well. And it might sound like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, but you got to take a step back and whoa, who has the second best big three in the league right now? It's Oklahoma City. Obviously, the first being, and it's a big four because it's so absurd in Golden State, but obviously the first being Golden State. After that, Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook. Who can compete with that? I'm not saying they're better than Houston. Well, only time will tell. I hate trying to say how good a team is when all we've seen is what they've done on paper. Like there's a lot of hype around the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. Karl Anthony Towns, Jimmy Butler, and those boys. And there's a lot of reason for optimism. Andrew Wiggins. But what have they accomplished? They've accomplished absolutely nothing. So hold your horses. Don't wait until you watch them play. So I'm not going to say that the Oklahoma City Thunder is the favorite to make the Western Conference Finals and play Golden State there. I'm not ready to say that. Maybe that will be my prediction come the beginning of the year, but I'm just not ready. I'm not there yet. Let's see how this plays out, because not everything that looks great on paper comes to fruition on the basketball court. I think back to the Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol Lakers. People are calling this the best starting lineup in the history of the NBA. They absolutely sucked. So I think that this is going to work out great in OKC. Sam Presti, what an unbelievable job. Oh my goodness. This organization went from 0 to 100 in what feels like 5 seconds. It was not, last season you had Russell Westbrook and you had a lot of mediocrity besides that. And it was kind of hard to watch, to be honest. And I, like I said, you got Chris Paul and James Harden in Houston. That's 2. Boston doesn't really have a big 3. They got Kyrie as a centerpiece. They have Gordon Hayward, but they don't have a big 3. Cleveland has Isaiah and LeBron. That's 2. So, in this new trend of superstar big 3s, Oklahoma City Thunder right now, they're right at the top of the game. Number 2 in the NBA. So that's something to take note of. They're obviously a winner. They really didn't give up much. Enes Kanter can play. Doug McDermott can shoot. Second round pick is a second round pick. They'll miss Kanter. They will. But, this was huge for them. Unbelievable job by Sam Presti. Last winner is Carmelo Anthony. I just want to take this time. So basically, this is more emotional. This is kind of less analytical. I really hope that, I talked about the Melo haters. I just hope that Carmelo Anthony, this is a big time period for his legacy. I hate that, how old he is right now at the time of this trade. I don't know how many years he has left. He doesn't jump like he used to. He's got bad knees. He doesn't run like he used to. But he's still a really, really good player, and this is so important for his legacy because, if he's able to shine and play meaningful playoff games, and I'm so excited to watch Carmelo Anthony play meaningful basketball because it's been a while. And if he can be a really good, second wheel in terms of scoring, and Paul George is awesome, maybe even third wheel. I don't even know. I don't know how they're gonna work this out in Oklahoma City, but this could be huge for Carmelo Anthony's legacy. And as a Knicks fan, OKC is my second favorite team, and I have a feeling that the Knicks will be on the outside looking in at the end of the season, and the Oklahoma City Thunder should easily be in the playoffs, and I will be a Thunder fan when that time comes. So I'm really happy for Carmelo Anthony. That's what this trade is about. It's not about the Knicks getting better. It's a little bit about OKC getting better. Obviously, that's a result of the trade, but that's not why the trade happened. The trade happened for Carmelo Anthony. The trade happened because Carmelo Anthony said it needs to happen, and because the Knicks, front office understood that this is what needed to happen to avoid a very awkward, toxic relationship that would have resulted. So that'll about do it. If, sound off in the comment sections. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.